So for our next session, I would like to introduce Courtney Fenstermaker, who is the D2C industry team lead at InfoTrust. And then also, it's hard to forget, Brad from our intro, VP of Partnerships at InfoTrust, to talk a little bit more about this migration to GA4 and that critical role that it plays in your first-party data strategy moving forward.
Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Brad.
How are you?
Not bad.
I thought of a shirt for Tyler and Adam. Server side is the best side. Huh? Who would buy one? Don't lie. None of you would. All right, okay. We might have a business. All right, we're going to do something real quick. I know you're getting tired of the games, but everybody's looking a little bit tired. I know the server side was exciting. You have 20 seconds to move seats. If you're in the back, come a little closer to the front. If you're in the front, move a little bit back. If you're on this side, go to this side. Ready, set, go. Come on, don't be so. I know you don't like me right now, but
19,
this is good.
18, 17.
I see some of you just going the next seat. Looking at you, Andrew. All right, I like it. Some moving towards the front. Some went a seat over. Andrew, TQL, Cincinnati, Ohio, right here.
Front row up here has lots of open seats.
There we go. Look at that. And guess what everybody has now? A new perspective, right? Do I look better from your new view, Courtney? Easy. That was a quick, hard no. We are out of gift cards. The budget's gone. I'm sorry.
Second round of gift cards.
But I will say on perspective, I talk to my 3 kids a lot about the word perspective. Again, having a lot of conversations, that first initial conversation when organizations are asking about GA4, asking about server side, they have their pain points. We all need to really change our perspective on, let's avoid the negatives of the challenges and the complexity and the lawyer side and combining teams. Let's think about the opportunity. So we got our session, 2 more sessions, then happy hour. So please get ready for happy hour. It's going to be good. You can talk with all the folks. Server side is the best side over there. But for the next 20, 25 minutes, we're going to talk about first-party data strategies and Google Analytics 4. So we're getting a little bit more tactical than the high level. Everybody should understand where we're at from an industry standpoint. We're going to go a level deeper. And with that, I am honored to share the stage with Courtney. I'll let you kick it off.
Thanks, Brad. All right. Well, I'm going to kick us off. And like Brad said, we're a little bit more than halfway through the day. So want to kind of remind us why we are all here. And in my role, I do work very much on the ground floor with clients. And so I hear a lot of these same concerns. I'm sure a lot of them are things that everyone in this room are thinking of. And actually, I think we've answered a few of them today. So some of those questions, what's going to happen to remarketing? How do I unify customer data if I'm not really doing a great job at it yet? Do I have the right consent management strategy? Or what if I don't have one at all? Is my MarTech stack correct? Who should be responsible at my organization for data privacy? And actually something that Kevin brought up in the first session, what is the risk if I just wait? I don't do anything yet. I'm kind of scoping out the industry to see what everyone else is doing. And we are definitely at a point where waiting is not possible. I think this is a really good visual. It's from the International Association of Privacy Professionals. Shows you on the global map, anything in blue here, that is all of the locations that have data protection laws in place. So it might be a little jarring if you're seeing that and saying, wow, most of them have it. There's the US in yellow. That means they have some sort of partial coverage. There's also some of the regions there that have no data protection. So obviously, many of us in the room are primarily focused on building out our US strategy. That's where many of us are primarily operating. And so just another visual of what the US looks like. About 25% of the states have either something signed and passed or something that's in progress of being passed. So we are definitely seeing increasing numbers. This is actually a great resource. You can check it and they update it every 2 weeks or so you can keep a pulse on what's changing. But we know it continues to grow in the US, more and more data protection state by state, and potentially even some federal coverage in the future. And the last image I have, oop. There you go. This should look a little familiar. I like to show this visual, the tag inspector scan of just a regular website that you might come onto, and this is why we're all here, is it's overwhelming. And obviously many of our customers will never see this level of detail. But when you come on a website and 100 platforms are suddenly tracking you, it does create some unease, and it makes us all wonder, what do we really need to be doing? Because this is a huge, large scale issue facing us. So before we get to too much of the solutions, welcome to the party, first party, because that's what we're here for. And so probably everyone in the room is familiar with what the different types of data are, but I wanted to make sure we're using the same definitions as we're talking. So I'm going to give a 30-second overview of the different data types, and the first one is third party. So third party, that's like your behavioral or interest-based demographic data you're getting from someone else, some sort of external source. And usually it's going to be anonymized, aggregated. So future state, less available, and just less useful based on some of the privacy regulations and kind of upholding what we're talking about, the respective users, and how do we use that data appropriately. Then we have the lesser known or used second party data. So that's behavioral data collected by another company, then give it another company's first party data. Sometimes it's difficult to aggregate, so it's kind of limited in how it's leveraged. Some industries use it more than others. I work in the retail e-commerce space, don't see as much use, but definitely automotive companies tend to use it a lot to look at things like auto loans and buying data from another company, insurance, banking, more heavily used. So they'll continue to probably be used, but really with trusted partners. And then of course, first party data. So that's data you're collecting about your consumers, you own it, and primarily it's used to either identify your users or create that personalized customer experience. And of course, it's really the focus of what we're talking about today. Then we have, I wanted to call this out because people see it and they don't know what it means, zero party data. And that is a subset of first party data where it's focused on usually optional data that your customers can provide to you just to give more information about who they are. And it really helps you identify who your most loyal customers are. If they're willing and want to give you that data, it probably means they want to be more engaged. So a good example of the difference, Brad had the gift card game in the beginning. Most of the data on there, first party data, name, phone number, address, had optional birth date. Might be something people provide because they say, well, they're going to use my birth date to give me a coupon. I'm here for it. So that's zero party data. So summarizing, benefits of first and zero party data. One, biggest thing, complete ownership. We just talked about that with server side. Having the ability to own it and know the data quality is upkept by your organization is really critical. And then of course that ties right into the second point, better compliance. You know how you collected it and you have the data governance over it. First-hand collection, better accuracy, more reliable. And then of course, customer consent. That's what we're working towards, is knowing our data has been gathered through consent. And the last thing I want to make sure we cover is some misconceptions about first-party data, because I think it's great to know what it is, but if you have some misconceptions, it can be changing how you're leveraging it. This was covered a little bit in some previous sessions, but the first most important element of first-party data I hear very often is, I need to collect it. So people are hoarding data and they're just rushing because they feel like they don't have enough. So they're so focused on how do I get more? And yes, it's very important to collect the data, but it's just as important to think of how you're going to leverage it. So if you have no strategy for driving any activation from it, that's only half of the story, is collecting it. So having a strategy and idea of how to actually activate and use that data is equally as important. Second misconception, because it's first-party data, obviously it's already privacy compliant. I don't have to worry about anything else. That's definitely not true. Even first-party data can be collected in a non-compliant way. So it's very important everyone in this room keeps up with what are the global and even national in the US privacy regulations and changes. Just kind of figuring, hey, we're focusing so much on first party, so we're good. It's not a great strategy to move forward. Definitely recommend those 2 resources I had linked because you can keep a pulse on what's going on. But very important because first party data even has its own challenges of keeping in compliance. And then the last misconception, I hear this the most often out of all of them, which is collecting first party data means I have to have a super complex marketing stack. And I know a lot of people say, well, we don't have a CDP yet, or we don't have server side, or we're working towards those things. So that's what's holding us up. First party data is available to everyone just by even having Google Analytics 4 on your site. It's a great place to start because it's super simple. Most websites in this country and even globally have GA on them. So you have the data there. You can start thinking about it even with a free tool like GA4 and build up upon it with some of these other emerging technologies. Right.
Speaking of Google Analytics 4, thank you, Courtney. Nice work. Let's give her a hand. Courtney, come on.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, Google Analytics 4. I heard Adam and Tyler mention stale platforms, stale data. The word stale was used a lot. And for me, that's the whole reason Google's releasing Google Analytics 4, and every single organization across the globe is migrating over to it. You can see here, just if we take a step back from a very Google-centric ecosystem, you can see some key points. But Google Analytics, my friends, 2005 was built off of cookies. I don't think we need to share that cookies are going away yet again. But it was interesting, right? Because I would get complaints from a partnership sales perspective of like, why is Google changing their platform? It's like, it's such a pain. It's, we got to retrain, we got to rebuild our dashboards. There's so many things behind it. But then previously, before GA4 announced, the common complaint was, why does application collect data differently than website? Why is it so reliant on cookies? So the reality is Google is moving towards a privacy-first way to collect data in the benefit of your organizations and the relationship, that one-to-one human relationship that you all want to have with your customers. So just keep in mind that this transition's happening. We have worked with Google since 2019 on providing feedback for Google Analytics 4. Everybody in this room understands it's not 100% there. And everybody's like, yes, it has every single feature functionality, but the product teams are 100% focused on it. And we continue to give them feedback based on all of the conversations that we have together on it. By the way, 2005, when Google acquired Urchin, does anybody know who the American Idol winner was? Anybody? You weren't expecting that, were you? Carrie Underwood. So to give you like how long, speaking of stale products, we should be excited about Google Analytics 4. Change is hard, but it's coming, and we're going to talk a little bit more tactical about how we get there. All right, let's talk the why. I've already mentioned the why, right? It's a stale product that's built on cookies. The way we wrapped it up is Google Analytics 4 has the ability to collect anonymous data to still provide reporting value in a privacy-centric environment. All of the things that we've discussed today, all of the things that we're building towards, whether it's server side or privacy or consent management, GA4 is one component of that. As you think about your organization, how you get the right data, how do you collect the right data in a compliant way, how do you process the data in a privacy safe way, and then how do you take that data, take the understanding, find your highest, most valuable customers. That's the intent behind this, and I thought it'd be helpful to go through that with all of you. The final thing is why we're excited, and because there's such a delay, I'm just gonna bam through these. It's probably there's too many tags loading on this. First, the data collection model has changed. We all know, right? Google Analytics Universal was sessions, based on cookies. Right now, GA4 is based on event level data collection. That's not just good for those of you with applications, because now applications and websites are on the same data collection. But think about all the other sources. That event data level model, data collection model is really critical for your attribution, for your CLV models. It brings more of a consistent privacy first approach or future to it. The second one is Google has rebuilt this platform on ML and AI. So using the best of Google to start being more predictive. There's a lot of predictive metrics within Google Analytics 4 that can give you churn prediction and insights for your users to use to better understand your customers. Privacy there, I put in bold or a special color because that's why we're all here today. We know how critical it is. And Google Analytics 4 just recently launched state-by-state configurations within GA4. They have consent mode for those of you who have websites outside of the US. So the modeling and the privacy-safe controls they're providing is going to help you maximize those numbers. Lucas mentioned early on the drop-offs of people saying, I don't want, I decline. What are the models that you can put so you have that group that is very anonymous, but then you have the group of loyal customers that you've created that relationship with, that you've created the value exchange. Data integration and helping enable the media, ultimately those are going to be big benefits, especially when you're at Google. Media is a pretty big part of their business. So anything GA4 wise is going to be well integrated to help your marketing teams think simple, think fast, think quick to drive those sales, drive the profitability for your business. I'm really working on this delayed click. All right, we got an exercise, believe it or not. It's a really easy exercise. We have an approach for you that you can take back to your teams and your organization. You're all going to repeat after me. T, ETL, T.
T, ETL, T.
We're trying to get a better name, guys. It's the best we got right now. So work with us, but T, ETL, T. Sorry, I'm getting some engagement. First piece, tag. So what do you do with Google Analytics 4? Big changes coming. July of next year, it's being deprecated if you're on the free version. October of next year, if you're on the enterprise version. The first piece is to tag your site alongside Universal Analytics. The one common thing that I'm seeing that I think is brilliant, think about going back to those tag inspector scans. How many legacy tags are within your organization? Folks that have joined the team, they start working with partners, they leave the organization, those tags don't go away. This is a perfect opportunity to do a data governance audit, to clean up, understand why are all these platforms on our site? Who's the business owner? What's the expiration? Don't just tag, don't just throw GA4 to be prepared. Throw GA4 on there, then start to look at everything else that's on there and start to think about ways you can improve for the future. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be left behind. And then when cookies go away, and then when all these things change and continue to change, it's going to be more challenging to crawl your way out. So the first T of T, ETLT, is to tag. The second, my friends, E, extract. So get your data out of Universal Analytics. You are not going to be able to compare everything between Universal, because the way it collects data, and Google Analytics 4 being on the event data collection model. So you want to make sure you not only extract it out of Universal Analytics, but you start to simplify that so your organization and your day-to-day users understand what are those metrics that we can look at, but then how do we translate all of the data that historically came from Universal Analytics, and then all of the data current and future that you're going to get through that event data collection model, which is where Transform comes in. Because Transform, you want to have Universal Analytics next to Google Analytics 4. You have to understand what are the most important KPIs. By the way, another opportunity for cleanup. Do you really need to look at 35 KPIs as an organization? Or maybe there's 4 or 5 that you can focus on and get the entire organization to rally behind. The marketing team, the analytics team, the IT team. So what are those 5 KPIs? What is transferable from Universal Analytics over to GA4? What is not? And simplify that, which is load. So a lot of executive teams right now, what I'm hearing stress at the analytics leader level, because you have someone above them saying, what the hell is going on with GA4? Are we ready? Are we going to have the data? Is everything set up? They really just want a dashboard. Like, just show me how this is going to change, which I believe simplification is going to be really critical in the load piece. So load that data into a simplified way to focus your leadership and your entire organization to rally behind the most important metrics. There's no reason to have 85 tabs within a dashboard, which some of our customers use. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't help, and things are too complex to try to focus on every single metric. Yes?
How would we calculate session-based metrics in a data warehouse? How is that? Sorry, it's a dumb question.
It's not a dumb question.
Definitely not a dumb question. There are actually some changes that will come to GA4 to continue to kind of bring a bridge to some of that session level data, so that will come. What we are mainly talking about there, especially like one of the big ones from at least the clients I work with, e-commerce conversion rate, since it is inherently a session-based metric, it's not available in GA4 out of the box. So those are things right now, calculated metrics, not available yet in GA4. Some of this we have to that's still an important KPI for many of our clients to track. So thinking of how do we take that out of GA in the UI and rebuild those sessions as a count are now back in GA4. So we have the data needed to kind of add those things back in through the session start event, for example. It's just calculating them. They're not available like they used to be just directly in the platform. So making that bridge is really critical right now.
And frankly, there's stuff that's just not going to be available within Google Analytics 4. So leads us to the final T of TETLT is train. I personally believe this is the most underrated that organizations are not focusing on, especially where we play with large enterprises. The training component of this, since Carrie Underwood won American Idol, day-to-day users of analytics have been using Google Analytics. Google Analytics 4 is a new user interface. It is new data collection. It's a new way to connect app data to website data. So training is a piece that I really would strongly encourage, building a plan for your organization. So much so for some organizations, we've created different training curriculums. So your expert needs to get this certification, and those certifications are tailored to your organization. So please don't forget the training piece. That's why Google is giving us a year plus to transition, because they understand the complexity of making the shift within all of your businesses. All right, how to get started. We have put in your envelopes, your lovely InfoTrust folder, a very printout. I know we don't see hard copies much anymore. We do have this interactive that we'll send to you as a follow-up. But this is your measurement architecture roadmap. This is going to be tailored and different for each one of you, but it gives you a nice thing to just write on to say, what are the things as I go across the audit, defining, implementing, enhancing, and maintaining? What are those things? Where are you at today versus where do you want to be in July when things start to shut down, or October when things shut down for you, for those of you on enterprise? So make sure you grab a folder. If you have not had a bag, there's some swag stuff. Make sure you get this. I would be taking this back to my team, back to my leadership to say, hey, you keep saying we got to do this, but I need some resources. I need investment. Like, we have to start making progress, because you can't skip to the end. It's going to be a crawl, walk, run approach. And we're about right at time. So I'm going to end with this. Speaking of crawl, walk, run, that was well intended. Those of you who have not read our first book, the first book that we launched was Crawl, Walk, Run, Advancing Your Analytics Maturity with Google Marketing Platform. What we've realized is, wow, the space, the reason all of you are here today is many more things are changing. It's much bigger than Google Marketing Platform, much bigger than advancing your analytics. This is launching in fall. So all of you in attendance today will get a copy. Marketing will make sure we have the right contact information after you give consent, if you're okay. Maybe use your business address. But yeah, we just wanted to share that because we're super excited about it. We think it really wraps up all of the conversations we're having today, and just is a great read. But Courtney, any final words?
No, thank you guys. And of course, if you do have any follow-up questions, find us at happy hour. We're happy to talk more, especially if you have specific stuff about your implementation. Otherwise, thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody.